Okay, Mr. Clerk, please read Communication 173, Resolution 78-13, and all related communications into the record. Thank you.
Communication 173, Resolution 78-13, requests the Legislative Auditor to conduct an audit of the Police Department's receipt, storage, and disposal of evidence. From Councilmember Margaret Willey, dated February 21st, 2013, requests the Office of the Legislative Auditor to conduct an audit of the Police Department's handling of evidence and confiscated property for the past 3 years.
May I have a motion to approve Resolution 78-13 and file all related communications?
So move. Second.
Councilmember Margaret Willey has moved to adopt Resolution 78-13 and seconded by Councilmember Elegant. Any discussion? Councilmember Willey?
Yes. My aim here is to promote trust in government, and a theme that you may notice through many of my other resolutions and ordinances is present. This is basically looking at an attempt to look at ensuring that property is appropriately obtained, stored, transported, handled, and disposed of. Ensuring the adequacy of the police department's internal management, control procedures, and physical security of property and evidence areas from the point of evidence, of obtaining the evidence and confiscated property is identified to the final disposition, and in performance audit to ensure the proper documentation of transactions and events. One question that I've been asked is, well, do I know of something that was wrong and where something was done inappropriately? And the answer is no. There is in my district, however, just general concerns and general fears and stories, various questions being raised, and how are we assured that whether it's, say, drugs or money or whatever that's found is properly handled. So part of this is an educational effort. There was also one particular incident about a year and a half ago, and I just always had questions, heard that there were drugs in a vehicle was confiscated, and drugs, and then nothing was ever in the papers or ever came about, and just always had questions as to how do we know that all of these things are being properly handled. And again, this is really a matter of promoting trust and faith in our government, and just learning how these procedures work. I do know that the department recently went through and successfully obtained a CALEA law enforcement accreditation program, and I'm not sure, there are two different levels of approval, and this was brought to my attention by the chief. There are a number of categories in this that have to do with collection and preservation of evidence and property and evidence control. So I would be interested in those particular sections, or I think those are relevant to what might be useful. So I would encourage that we do this audit. As the information from Lane Shibata said, an audit is not meant to be feared, and I would be happy and for there to be an audit, and it to be, we are doing great, and I'm proud of all of you, and we are, and we all move forward in the positive way and trust. And just one last comment, there is a great deal of concern in Waimea in terms of the amount of drugs that are circulating, and I think that this does it is just one reason that adds to people's concern. whether it's founded or unfounded or not founded, it's a concern in my community. Thank you.
Councilmember Kanuha, and then I'll go to Councilmember Kern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was there anybody from the police department that wanted to come up and respond to this resolution?
Major Sam Thomas, is he here? Yes. Would you come forward, please?
But
He was going to be their spokesperson. So.
oh, thank you. I just wanted also to say while you're coming up here that the department recently did go through this accreditation process, and you did get this major accreditation. We had a certificate presented to the department to notify the public of this accreditation. That was done by Ms. Eoff, I think it was. So I know you went through extreme scrutiny to get this. Could you respond to just that was just my 2 cents right there. But,
Well, basically,
oh, your microphone, please.
And please just state your name for the record.
Major Sam Thomas. I'm in charge of the Administrative Services Division at the department. So basically, part of the accreditation process actually involved evidence. It involved evidence procedures. It involved evidence handling, evidence storage. We actually had to go and find additional funds and go ahead and do some additional separation of our evidence. Our drugs are separated from the cash that's received, and that's separated from other forms of evidence. The assessors came to the Big Island from the mainland. They were from 2 different police departments. They are not paid by us. They're paid by the Accreditation Commission. And they went ahead and viewed our procedures, and we passed with flying colors. That's why I guess we were taken aback by the resolution that was filed, because as far as we're concerned, we're pretty darn good in what we do. And based on what the accreditation people tell us, they concur. We're following procedures that are followed throughout by other accredited police departments throughout the United States, and not all departments that apply for accreditation actually receive the accreditation.
Can I just interrupt just really quick, because I noticed that Mr. Bugado came up to the table as well. Do you want to state your name for the record, and did you want to also speak about something?
Kenneth Bugado Jr. I'd like to add to what Major Thomas has said regarding our accreditation. CALIA has certain standards in relation to evidence storage, evidence collection, the disposition of evidence. And part of those standards include periodic inspections, audits of our facilities, of our procedures. And within the last 3 years, we had these procedures in place, and CALIA determined through our last on-site assessment that we were up to standard.
Thank you. You still have the floor, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was kind of, when I first saw this, I popped in my head that the accreditation, and you guys explained exactly what I needed to hear, and for myself. So thank you very much for that, and I'll yield it this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think, an accreditation is almost like having an audit, right, to a degree. I mean, it's basically go through an audit to get accredited, and they check everything. I don't think at this point in time would make sense to do an audit like that, maybe some years down the road, as things have gone through. But I'm not sure if the CALIA does continued type of audits, but that's another story. If I could ask you gentlemen to have a seat. I don't have any questions for you, but I do have a question for Lane. Okay. Thank you guys very much.
Okay. Can I say one last thing,
Sure,
please?
go ahead.
I'd like to say that Chief Kubujiri has an open door policy. So if anybody from the council has any questions regarding our department's procedures or policies, please, or your constituents do, please feel free to contact him at any time, and he'll be more than willing to explain our procedures and our policies.
And for the record, that was just Officer Bugado, for the minutes.
Thank you very much for that. And thank the chief for the open door policy. Do appreciate it. Mr. Shibata, I don't remember, but I had asked you before for the top 5 departments that you're doing an audit for? And I believe civil defense was at the top of the list.
Yes, I submitted Lane Shibata, acting legislative auditor. I submitted communication 173.1. I'm not sure if you have it on hand.
I got it. Thank you.
But if you look at the back, the second page, on the left side, it shows the top 10 departments.
Very good. And when I spoke to you guys in the office before, you said an audit takes about 6 months or so.
Just about from beginning of the planning stages to the completion of the final report, about 6 months.
Okay, very good. I believe that if we pass this resolution, we're going to be pushing some of these other things back. I've been in communication with them to try to move a different department a little further up the list that I won't get into now for sunshine law purposes. I don't think it makes sense to do this right now. I'm not going to support this resolution. I think civil defense is a top priority, and there's a few other sections in here that need some auditing, that need some attention, that we can go through and actually help maybe increase some of our revenues, some of our processes. And being that we just had the accreditation, there's no need to put the department through this right now. So I'm not going to support this. We have, I think, civil defense is number one, is a very important agency to go through this right now. And as again, I will be bringing up another department to bring to the, hopefully closer to the top of that list.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Shibata.
Thank you. Councilmember Eoff?
Thank you. Yes, I was very impressed when our police department received the accreditation, and I read what that meant. So I would think that at this point in time, our resources and time would be better spent auditing other departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Elegant?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you to the police force for keeping our communities safe. And I represent the district of Puna, actually half of the district of Puna, because this fine council member right here represents the other half. And I want to just say thank you because Puna's reputation has been getting better because of your service. And we just did a bust and I'm just so grateful that we're getting better and better. And I will not support this. And I just want to say keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ford?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the police department for arresting those 8 people in a drug bust within the last couple of weeks. We hate drug users over there. I'm very supportive of the police department. I always have been. However, I want to respectfully disagree with Mr. Kern. It is imperative that we do audits on all departments, and I don't believe we've ever done one. I don't know if we've ever done one on the police department. I don't remember ever doing it. 6 years. Lane, do you remember the last time, if ever, the police department had an audit? And we're not asking for the whole department now.
You know, I can't recall anything
Okay.
either, and
right.
maybe they did one before my time.
Right. So I also respectfully disagree that a CALEA accreditation process is equal to an audit. They're quite different. In my opinion, they're quite different. I also don't think that this needs to go to the top of the list. So, if we have the top 5 that are something different than this, the evidence situation, I don't care if you go to the bottom of the list as long as we put you on the list for some time in the future when it can be done appropriately. So audits are necessary. The council needs to be audited, by the way. But we keep trying to bring that up every year, but it doesn't work. So I am going to support this, not because you've done anything wrong. I think you've done everything right. But I think you should be on the list at some point. Again, not the top 5, maybe not even the top 8 or 9, maybe number 10. It never hurts to have an audit, because when you come out of an audit and you're squeaky clean, man, you can just pop buttons off your chest and say, we're doing our job and we're doing it extremely well. That's what an audit's about. An audit is also about if there are some holes in the system, we fix the holes. It's not about you've been bad. It's about we got a problem and we're just going to fix the problem, like we did with some of these other departments we've been talking about. So I support this. I don't necessarily think it should be in the top 5, but I do think it should be on the list along with every other department in the county. Thank you.
Can I respond to
Sure, go ahead.
Councilmember Ford's? In performing our risk assessment, we did look at every county department and including their programs and divisions. And the list that we submitted is the top 10 out of the whole county. So we're not saying that the police didn't make it on the list. They're on the list. However, they didn't make it into the top 10. And the reason why we put, like the top 10, we kind of ranked it as far as high risk to low risk. And I guess this list was made so that we could plan for our audits up until fiscal year 2014. So that's why I guess we limited the list to 10. Yeah.
I don't have any problem with that. I don't care if the evidence audit is someplace down at 20, but I do think it should happen at some point in time. So again, I'm not trying to knock anybody off this list or change the order or anything. It's just that everybody should be audited at some point in time. I'm all for auditing. So I hope the council will support this with the proviso that we're not trying to put this up at the top. As Ms. Willie said, we don't know the problem. And so there's no tremendous urgency, but we do need to satisfy the requirements of auditing for all departments. So please support this. Thank you.
Councilmember Onishi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was going to just mention that what Lane just mentioned about that list. And so maybe, Lane, you can get the list to all the council members of, all the, like where they fit. And in that way, maybe each council member can maybe respond back to you and let you know what areas they would want you folks to go audit. And that way, I think that would make the process easier and more understanding. Thank you.
Councilmember Eoff?
Oh, thank you. Then, am I understanding that the police would be on the list, but just not up until through fiscal year 2014? But my question would be, do we need this process, this resolution, in order to eventually conduct an audit, or will they move up just when you finish your other top 10?
Since we put the top 10 departments there, we'll be 3 years from now. So as we conduct our audits for up until 2014, we'll go down the line, and if it makes it, or if we can schedule one of the audits for the police, it'll probably get done. If not, when we do our risk assessment again, it may resurface and get to the top.
But this, Ms. Willie's resolution, even if we were to pass it, you wouldn't be able to schedule it for the next 2 or 3 years anyways, right?
Probably not until 2014. After that, we'll have to file another audit plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's great that the pretty much every department's on the list. They went through and prioritized. The resolution here says in page 2, the last be it further resolved before finally being resolved. It says the legislative auditor shall complete this audit within 1 year and submit its findings. That I cannot support. It's going to change things. I don't think we need this right now. I think we could give it a little bit of time, let the audits come through on the other ones, talk story with the department, see what actually makes sense and is most efficient and effective, and we can do that. I don't think anyone's not trying to to work with this. I just don't think it makes sense, especially when we have other areas and other departments that need a lot more attention and help right now. So again, I won't support this at all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Ms. Willie first, and then I'll come to Councilmember Ford. Go ahead.
Let me say, I debated pulling this and not doing it for the reasons that a number of you have cited. But, and also in speaking with the chief, he discussed this with me and questioned me in terms of why we would need to do an audit at this time. But I want to explain that I really feel that my obligation is to informing and educating and bringing resolution to the concerns of the people in my district. And my understanding that there's been an accreditation, it doesn't get it out there. Having this discussion, just this discussion right here, is of value to the people that I work with, and in Waimea, regardless of what's been done, it is an ongoing concern. I look at the one thing I did ask the chief, and I'm not sure whether he's responded yet, but I didn't have it as of yesterday. Just in terms of the sections of the standard titles for the accreditation, number 83 is collection and preservation of evidence, and number 84 is property and evidence control. Now, I think this is like there's 480 some criteria. I believe that if you pass over 400 or something, you get the highest level accreditation. I don't know which ones, if every one of these has been and that our police department has passed with flying colors, every one of these. How do you get the evidence? How do you ensure that once it's there, that it makes it to the police report? That's probably the area that I hear the most concerns in my district, not from anything that's happened in the past 3 years, but from stories from the past. So what I'm saying to you is I appreciate this discussion right here and explaining that the accreditation process, as you said, did go through these things, and that you did, that they were all found to be satisfactory. Again, I do agree with what Brenda is saying, is that an audit and looking at it is not the same, is different than doing the accreditation. But I don't have a problem letting this go for now. I do believe that these kind of discussions are important for people to understand. And I also appreciate when you're saying an open door policy, and at the same time understanding that if I go in and you satisfy me, for me, that's not good enough. I mean, for my people, I want there to be out. I want discussions for all of us, for the public to hear and come to these conclusions themselves, and not just, well, Margaret, they trust you, and therefore if you're okay, then we're okay level. So I thank you all for, if you feel it's an indulgence, I feel that it's important for my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ford?
Thank you. I see Mr. Ishida, and I think he wants to speak to us, and so would you like to come forward? And while Lincoln is coming forward, I still believe that we should do this. If this goes forward, I would like to see an amendment striking within the 1 year. If not, if you feel comfortable with this discussion, you could also withdraw the resolution. But I would like to hear from Mr. Ishida.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Thank you, Chairman Poindexter, for hearing from me. One of the things that I would like to gently advise and remind the council is the Legislative Auditor's Office is supposed to perform their duties independent of any of the council, independent of the administration. I think that we get into very precarious waters when any body, whether in body, I mean the legislative branch through the council or the administration through the mayor, begins to call up the auditor and say, hey, I want you to do this. It becomes especially problematic for two reasons. Number one, the charter specifically sets out the process by which the auditor is supposed to set up a plan, and they have done that in this case. And this present request asks for a deviation from the plan. What exacerbates that problem is this council is the auditor's appointing authority, which I think makes it a little more suspect, or raises some concerns, at least from a lay perspective, that you're leaning hard on the guy or the office to say you do as we want because we appoint you. So I would just caution the council. It's up to you what you want to do, but I was sitting back there and I just felt it was incumbent for me just to remind the council as to the specifically what the charter provides. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh,
Excuse
go
me,
ahead. I'm sorry, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Shida. I think that's advice well taken, when that also means that other people other than Ms. Willie shouldn't be doing anything to direct the office of the auditor. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over again. Thank you, Mr. Ishida. I think that's well taken advice, and I think, I hope Ms. Willie will support that. But that also means that none of us should be sending forward resolutions to change the audit sequence, as it was determined by the department, based on the risk assessment, which several of us, at least three of us, I think, were involved when, and I'm not sure about Mr. Onishi, but certainly Mr. Yoshimoto and I were involved in the risk assessment. So I'm comfortable with what you're doing in the Legislative Auditor's Office, and I'm just going to see what Ms. Willie wants to do. Thank you.
I want to call on Councilmember Onishi first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on FAFSA. No, I guess what the misunderstanding is that, I guess at our, either was a council meeting or a committee meeting on December 18 in 2012, Colleen did mention to us was that she explained us the process of the audit, and then she indicated that a resolution from a council is an official mechanism. Okay, and then she added that her office gives a lot of weight to any resolution coming from the council. Okay, so she kind of mentioned this, and then so I guess there was a discussion between her and Councilwoman Willie, and that's why this is done. So I just want to just make it clear and, to, I guess, state what she had stated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kanuha, as you
Thank you, Madam Chair.
patiently
Just
wait.
kind of quickly as well. To use this as a vehicle to bring out public discussion is good. Just one question to Ms. Willie, just yes or no. Did you talk to the police department before you brought this resolution out?
No, I did not.
Okay, that would have been my first course of action if there was a concern within my community about certain things that either any department was doing wrong. I would first go to the department and see if there is something wrong, and maybe that department could try to address what any other concerns from myself or the constituents would have been. So that would have been my first course of action, and then I could have gone back to our constituents and spoke directly to them, kind of hopefully satisfying what their demands or concerns, if they were met or not. But with this particular resolution, concerning the evidence room in particular, who besides the police department can actually go inside the evidence room or to conduct?
Same. I guess, yeah.
Or conduct an audit of the evidence room.
State your name for the record. Thank you.
Major Sam Thomas again. Basically, sworn personnel from the department or the civilian evidence custodians are the only ones allowed in there. So with all due respect to the Legislative Auditor's Office, no one's going to go in our evidence room.
Got it. So he couldn't obviously do a detailed audit of anything according to what...
He could go over our procedures and we could give him anecdotal information, but that'd probably be its limit. But the other thing is, we're audited almost on a daily basis by the criminal courts. If we fail to properly handle our evidence or submit our evidence, we're going to get called up on it by defense attorneys, obviously. We're also under the scrutiny of civil liability issues, and obviously if we've mishandled people's property, we're going to hear about it, you're going to hear about it in settlement conferences, whatever the case may be. So, we're very mindful of our responsibility with respect to evidence and other property that we recover.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just say one thing before I call on Councilmember Margaret Willie for the final. I've been through many accreditation I worked for a substance abuse treatment facility, so I know what it takes. We did CARF, and it's an audit, actually, and it's a different type of audit because it's in according to what the organization is. I can only imagine, well, I cannot even begin to imagine how difficult it was for the police department because of all of the departments you have throughout the island. And to go through an accreditation process and to pass with flying colors is just amazing, and that's why the certificate was given to you. I understand other audits as well when we have other departments, because in the county we don't have accreditation bodies for the county council or the finance department. There's no accreditation bodies, but for specific substance abuse treatment facilities, rehabilitation, police departments, the hospitals, there's all different accreditation bodies there. Those are their audits, and those audits are even tougher than what our independent auditors come in to do. I know that. I've been through it many times. The thing that I think we need to be as a council familiar with is what is an accreditation process and why does it exist, so we can understand how detailed that is. And it's not easy because we have to prepare a whole 12 months for our small little substance abuse treatment rehabilitation facility. I cannot imagine how much you had to put in to get that accreditation, and more so pass with what you had passed with. So my hat's off to you, and that certificate that was given was an honor that we have a police force that like we do in the county of Hawaii. So I thank you for that. Aloha. Councilmember Willie?
Yeah, thanks. And I just want to respond first to what Lincoln Ashida said, and I appreciate what he said. I will say that I went to Colleen and told her I was working on this. This is a while ago, and asked her what the options are, how to do it, and she told me that I should be doing it through a resolution, and that's why I did it. And second, I want to say that if this were an issue where I had like one party or a couple parties were some particular matter, then I would handle it where I would go to the chief and respond back. I just want to say that in Waimea, for whatever reasons, and I think there was one particular accident that no one ever heard whatever happened, where someone died and something happened, and there's a general concern, and where I feel there's a general concern, I felt it was appropriate to bring it up in this forum, because there isn't just one person. I want people engaged in my district and to participate and feel informed and feel trust. So that was really my decision on that. And I also appreciate what all of you, and like what Ms. Poindexter said, what is involved with accreditation. It wasn't until I started researching that I started appreciating more of what you all have said, and you're obviously more informed about what this means. But I wanted to get this out, and therefore I did proceed with this. And I feel that it's really good having this information out and allowing for that more trust and faith in the department. So I don't want you to take it as this is something, why are you being picked on after all of this, but just trying to bring people to appreciate what you all have gone through, and that there is an open door policy, and that it's not just for council members, that if others have concerns that feel that they can't communicate with the chief or you all directly. Thank you. So I will withdraw this resolution and move on.
Thank you. If it's just withdrawn, it's withdrawn. Oh, good. Thank you. And thank you for spending your afternoon with us. Okay, so we move to the top of our agenda.